Welcome back to the most disturbing videos on the internet today. Your boy is back. A tree fell and my power went out, man. It just came back on, so we're officially back in action.
An entire neighborhood was freaked out by what looks like some sort of skinwalker creature caught on top of a roof in Cali, Colombia. This is the video. Check this out. What looks like some sort of humanoid creature can be seen on top of a roof. It freaked out the entire neighborhood and they were trying to reach it somehow, and this is what happens next. Pay very close attention. They shine a light at this thing, whatever it is, and we can see it a little bit better right now. Pay very close attention. Even though it walks a bit like a humanoid creature, it behaves very differently than a human being. So what is this? It's what happens next that baffles the entire neighborhood and leaves them creeped out. Pay very close attention. Did you see that? In a matter of seconds, the creature disappears from the rooftop and reappears on another rooftop almost a block away. Whatever this thing is, people think it could be a skinwalker, and it baffled the entire neighborhood. They were freaking out. To this day, no one knows if this is a skinwalker, a ghost, or something else entirely. Leave your opinion under the comment section below.
What type of skinwalker is jumping from block to block in 2 seconds? How creepy is that? If you're enjoying this video, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button because we're doing these videos every single day again. And I'd love to see you tomorrow. So let's get straight back into the action.
Weird stuff that happens around the Sekhmet statue in Egypt. This is part 2 of me trying to explain the weird anomalies that happen when I visited a out-of-bounds statue in Egypt, because not only was there some pretty visceral, weird experiences, but also our cameras kept freaking out. And wait till you see the pictures. So where was I? This is a professional photograph done by a photographer who had his camera that he's had since he was 16 years old. And this camera is particularly good at taking very clear photos in low light conditions. He absolutely freaked out when he discovered that he could not focus his camera on this statue, and this weird like double exposed photo really baffled him, and he sent this photo off to his team back in Saudi Arabia to say, is there an issue with the camera? Is this a double exposed photograph of like 2 photos over another? Is his camera broken? What's going on? So the camera forensic people got back to him and said, no, this photo is not motion blur and it is not double exposed. This is some weird, this is what the camera captured when it was trying to focus on the statue and couldn't. For reference, here is a photo taken in another similar chamber with similar lighting. Same camera in the same temple complex, similar lighting thing. This is the kind of photo that you should be able to take, and the other one was his camera freaking out. Now for reference, this is a straight on photo of Sekhmet, right? Here it is, here she is. It's very, very low light. The only light source is a tiny hole in the temple ceiling, which gives us a little bit of sunlight. Okay, so the photos before were taken on my last tour in September 2022. This photo was taken this week on the most recent tour, also taken by a professional photographer with his camera. Now at first, I didn't notice anything wrong with this photo, right? It's just a person who's walking in front of the statue and it's got a bit blurry. Except that's not a person. The man took a photo of the statue with nobody in the room. This is not a person. This is nobody on the tour. Okay, here is an enhanced image of the photograph before, and you can see that this is not like a solid, or this was not a human that was in the room. Nobody on the tour was wearing a hat. Nobody was wearing a kind of coat like that. This is not a reflection of anybody. It's not a reflection of the statue, because I don't see how that matches or would even do that. Oh, can someone explain what is going on? Now, I didn't believe in ghosts. I've never personally experienced like a ghostly supernatural experience, so I had no frame of reference. However, one of the Egyptologists that was on the group, when she saw this photo, she pointed out that this weird person here looks a hell of a lot like this Egyptian dude. Like, it's the same clothes, it's the same hat. What?
Guys, I apologize. My settings are all jacked up from this power outage, so it caused my mic to go out. But I was simply saying, look at how crazy this is. We have a multi-dimensional creature looking in front of this statue. I don't know if he just was visiting it, saying hi, but you could see the weird looking sci-fi clothing it has on its arms. You know, and the fact that they were able to show us who it could possibly be, a multi-dimensional creature. Look here. Look at his coat. I mean, look at how his outfit is so weird compared to this one. This one is truly a multi-dimensional mystery. Very interesting, creepy at the same time. What is this? Just to add a little bit more about that statue's significance, maybe it could be some type of material that statue was made of that was making that multi-dimensional creature appear. But I definitely am interested in your thoughts below. Drop them. If you thought I didn't have an excellent specimen for you today, think again. Feast your eyes on this excellent piece. I have no idea what this is. But the stunning green ribbons almost looks like it was just snatched out of a coral reef, doesn't it? If I had to name this, I would name this Green Flames.
So I want to show you guys a video of a guy that claims that he ran into a reptilian at Home Depot. Now, I'm not an expert at reptilians or anything else like that. I just thought it was interesting. I want to see what you guys think. Let me know in the comments.
Reptilian shit people be talking about, man, that shit is true. I don't want to tell the story. My neighbor insists that I do, so I don't know why he won't get on camera and say the shit, but I'm sad. Was it Wednesday? Thursday. We went to Tractor Supply and we got some snake stopper. And we came back to the house. Our yards are connected. Right? Our yards are connected or whatever. So I'm putting some around my house. He put some around his house. And then we just kind of out there talking shit, doing it together for real. Me being clumsy, talking shit. I accidentally got some of this shit on us. So he was like, man, hey, pretty boy, you ain't got time to go back in the house to take a shower. We got to go back and get some more stuff. So we went back. Got some more stuff, got in line, and it was my neighbor, me, and this mixed-looking guy behind me. Maybe the mixed-looking guy looked like he's about 35, 36 or whatever. So he kept sneezing. And his sneeze didn't sound like, it was like that. He kept on. And so my neighbor was like, man, yo, something weird going on with that guy behind. He sneezed again, and I turned around, like, this part of his face, coming from his nose, across this way, turned scaly. His eye had a slit, but the slit wasn't up and down, the slit was sideways. The cashier see that shit, she run to the back. We get our stuff, we go out. He eventually, I don't know if he paid for this shit or what happened, he came on outside. He was like, yo, fellas, please don't tell anybody about this. I'm just like y'all, man. I'm just trying to live here. I'm just trying to make a living like you. And I'm like, yo, we didn't see shit. We got the phone. And then my neighbor got in the car, was like, yo, bro, I done seen this guy somewhere before. I think he worked at the courthouse. And I'm like, somebody like that working at the fucking courthouse, man, you believe what we just fucking saw? Yeah. It's making me think of the shit that we done seen on movies and stuff. Like, I done heard plenty of people say, like, hey, the stuff in the movies be true. That's how they get their true shit out. Like, put it in the movie, like, instead of telling us directly. And I'm like, man, whatever about that. But that scene in Man in Black when Tommy Lee Jones was telling Will Smith, I don't remember exactly how he said. He was like, oh, some of them just trying to make a decent living. Like, you know, Will Smith, like, let me guess, cab drivers or something like that. And he was like, not many of them. It was something like that he had said, but yo, like, no, middle of his face, down his nose, come across this way, turned scaly. His eye had a slit, but the slit turned this way. What the So I'm assuming that snake stopper or whatever we was using triggered something in that motherfucker. Like, yo, this shit is crazy. Like, and my neighbor, I think he still kind of shook up about it. He ain't really saying much, but I guess that's why he wanted me to come on with and say it. But I hope that guy don't see this TikTok or whatever like that. If he do, please don't come for me. I'll delete this shit.
Mermaid jumps out of water to grab food. Must see. These fishermen seem to be feeding mermaids like a pet. Did you see that mermaid's fingers? It was like Edward Scissorhands, how it had to try to slash that chicken. Pretty creepy stuff.
This dude's got some sort of time-traveling portal in his shed, 100%. If you haven't seen this story, I don't know where the heck you've been, but here you go, because everyone and their mother has been tagging me in these, so I'm gonna be posting it for you. I'm gonna post this one that has like a little update on it, because he thinks he found the guy, which is crazy. Basically, somebody walked into this dude's shed, disappeared, and then another person that looks like an older version of that person walked out later. You have a portal, sir. There is a portal in your shed. Let me know if you agree, guys. Watch.
I have an update regarding the time traveler that went into my shed and disappeared. And this is gonna blow a lot of people's minds. And if you're still denying that this is real at this point, this is gonna change your mind. So just a quick recap. This guy walks around my backyard, goes to my shed, opens the door, goes inside, and disappears. Called the cops came, they went in the shed twice. He wasn't in there. They looked, I looked like an insane guy. The cops were like, what is this guy smoking? And you can see he never came back until the next day right here. Notification on my camera that there's somebody in my backyard, and this guy leaves my shed. And he looks right at the camera too. That guy left my shed. But here's the craziest part. This looks like the same guy, maybe, glasses, whatever. Let's look at the other guy. This was the other guy. He noticeably aged. Looks like the same guy, but aged. So him again, and now him. Same facial features, whiter hair. So I don't even know what to think at this point. Somebody explain this. He literally left the same shed. You saw the camera I put before. There was no movement that whole night. Then the next day, this guy leaves the shed, looks right at the camera like he knows, and he looks noticeably older. A guy named Matty Ice, he's been looking into this a lot. It's funny because he actually made a skit on part 1, kind of like making fun of me, but now he's come around to actually looking into this because this is real. So he's been looking into this story, and he found some crazy evidence. To start this off, I don't support reaching out to anybody's families or anything like that. This is all speculative, but evidence kind of makes sense. So what he did is he did a reverse image search, and he found this guy who looks pretty similar to our boy here. The crazy part is this guy was obsessed with time travel. And you can see 9 years ago, he used to post on blogs talking about time travel and how it works. So he graduated from Harvard University, which is, you know, obviously impressive. So this guy knew his stuff. He was obsessed with time travel, and he looks like our guy. So it's like, okay, it's probably him then, right? This guy died in 2018, 6 years ago, which, by the way, how is 2018 6 years ago? That's crazy in its own. But 6 years ago, this guy died. But he looks the same, and he was obsessed with time travel. We also found this, which is family members saying they miss him and that they, you know, love him and stuff like that in November 2018. We also found this, which is the same thing talking about his death, July of 2017. So this one also says he died in July of 2018, but then they posted in 2017. It's possible that they edited this text to, you know, give him a shout out, how he passed away. Maybe his picture was posted beforehand, but still a little fishy, right? It was in 2017 saying, you know, he died in 2018, but whatever. He also found this interview notes, which I guess he was interviewed and somebody took notes of the interview. And in this interview, he was talking about his obsession with sound and time travel and how everything like that works in another dimension. This is all speculative. I didn't do any of this research. This is all Matty Ice. But this is crazy because there's a lot of coincidences. This guy looks the same. He was obsessed with time travel. He died. Somebody commented about his death a year before it happened. Mentioned that maybe the body wasn't found. I don't know how accurate that part is. But coincidences going back to this guy who looks like our time traveler. So yeah, pretty crazy. I definitely urge you not to reach out to this guy's family. They probably don't want to talk about this. I know if, you know, I had a family member pass away, I wouldn't want somebody calling me about this. But yeah, pretty interesting. You know, tag me if you guys find any more info on this.
That's an absolute creepy and disturbing story. How else would they figure out how that man came out older out of that shed container, but nobody else came out? What's the significance of the sound and frequency for him to teleport in a normal shed that no one else can't see?
Quite frankly, it has me a little spooked. I don't understand what I saw, and I can't explain it. If you have seen anything like it, feel free to let me know what you think it is in the comments. Yeah, it has me pretty...
While camping deep in the woods, a camper heard strange voices echoing through the trees. Thankfully, he had set up a trail camera to capture any unusual activity. When he checked the footage later, he saw a partially transparent being moving around the camp, its two bright eyes glowing in the darkness. It even stepped into the frame, lingering for a moment before the video abruptly ended. The camper couldn't help but wonder if it had been watching him the whole time. The eerie encounter left him questioning what else might be lurking in the shadows.
That's why when you go camping, I recommend some night vision.
This is the video, it's called a Comburgus video, which is a close-up of a craft, so close that you can see the occupants. It is 100% real, and I was there as that was filmed.
The whole footage has been analyzed for a more scientific work for 2.5 weeks, frame by frame, pixel by pixel, and this is 100% genuine footage.
This is the video, it's called a Comburgus video, which is a close-up.
Aliens and UFOs exist. Disclosure is happening. Real footage. Everyone must watch this. Holloman Air Force Base UFO for entertainment purposes only. Don't believe everything or you hear or see on this video.
And I was involved in one of the key stories that confirms that they're not covering up, and that was the story of the Holloman Air Force Base film. This is one of the stories I put in the book to say, if you believe they're covering up, you've got to explain this. 1969, the U.S. government, Air Force, shuts down Blue Book. And they say, okay, CIA is already out of it. They've already said, we're not interested in UFOs. We don't study UFOs. 1969, the U.S. Air Force shuts it down. And what I say, they're not shutting it down. They're moving it into the black world. They're shutting down the white world. to allow them to research in the black world without having to answer for every UFO sighting. And so they shut it down, and at 1969, they're off the books. They say, there's no ET, there's no cover-up, there's no evidence of withholding documents, that sort of stuff, and no national security implications. And that's it. So they shut it down, and in 1973, they go to Bob Emenegger and Alan Sandler, two producers in Los Angeles, and they ask them to do a UFO documentary. They have 8 documentaries, defense documentaries, and at the end, we want you to do this other one on UFOs. And Bob Emenegger is a total UFO skeptic, said, what do you mean this is for real? And at that point, the security manager, Paul Shardle, at Norton Air Force Base said, what would you say if I told you that we had landed, that an alien ship landed at Holloman Air Force Base, 6 o'clock in the morning in May of 1971, and we filmed it from 3 different vantage points, 2 on the ground, 1 in a helicopter, and we will allow you to use the film for your documentary. So here you go, and what Bob said is, he's still not interested in UFOs. He watches Comedy Channel, he's not interested in UFOs. He said, these people are all crazy, there's no cover-up. I was able to go wherever I want. He went into the Pentagon without signing in. He was able to go and talk to all the Blue Book heads. He was talking to Art Lundahl, who was the big CIA guy for UFOs stuff. He said there was no cover-up. I could ask whatever I want. And it was true. He could ask wherever he wants. So he puts his documentary, and then what happens at the end of the documentary is they say, we can't use the film. We can't allow, it's the Watergate, it's bad timing, we can't allow you to use the film, and they pull the film. At least that's what I thought. Then when the film gets released, it's a documentary called UFOs, Past, Present, and Future, $250,000 from the MacArthur Foundation, and then the MacArthur people say, oh, Mr. MacArthur's having trouble with his friends. He's getting a hard time about doing this UFO thing. We'd like you to pull his name from the credits, but you can keep the money. And so here it works. And so they get the money, it's a secret source for the money, comes in, and then they put the documentary out, and then I find out that there's 8 seconds of the Holloman Air Force Base film in the film. So Bob's my friend, I phone up Bob. There's 8 seconds of film in there. And he goes, well, yeah. And I said, you told me they pulled the film. You told me it was sent back to the Pentagon. And he said, well, it did. And he told me this whole story about the guy going across the country in this small Datsun, taking the film back to the Pentagon. I said, but there's 8 seconds of film in the documentary. And then he said the key words. He said, but it didn't show anything. And I said, oh no, he said, it's background. And I said, background? What do you mean it's background? And he said, it didn't show anything. And what it is you see the hills of Holloman, and you see this object, this brilliantly lit object at 6 o'clock in the morning coming over the hills, but it's in a distance. So you don't see it close up, and you don't see the alien when the alien gets out. That's the classified part. So they want you to know that Holloman happened, and they allowed them to use the 8 seconds of the film, but the rest of the film, the classified part, was pulled.
What reportedly happened? What you are going to see now is the original clip.
During a routine photographic mission, a tech sergeant and staff sergeant of the base photographic team were aboard a helicopter at the time and run off several feet of film of the 3 objects, one of which breaks away and begins a descent. A second high-speed camera crew on the ground runs off approximately 600 feet. The cameras continue to roll as the extraordinary vehicle comes into view. It hovers, almost silently, about 10 feet off the ground for nearly a minute and yaws like a ship at anchor, then sets down on 3 extension pads. Commander and 2 officers, along with 2 base Air Force scientists, arrive and wait apprehensively. A panel slides open on the side of the craft. Stepping forward, 1, then 2, and a third, what appear to be men dressed in tight-fitting jumpsuits, perhaps short by our standards, with an odd blue-gray complexion, eyes set far apart, a large pronounced nose. They wear a headpiece that resembles a rope-like design. The commander and the 2 scientists step forward to greet the visitors. Arrangements are made by some sort of communication, and the group quickly retires to an inner office in the King 1 area. Left behind stand a stunned group of military personnel. Who the visitors are, where they're from, and what they want is unknown.
There were 5 bodies aboard, all of them dead. Yeah, they had asphyxiated. What had happened, ostensibly, they had blown a portal. and so they suffocated, you know, due to a lack of support system.
What did they look like?
Little guys, 3.5 feet.
Is it like the small cries people talk about?
They weren't like the Zeta reticuli grays. No, their eyes were different. The Zeta reticuli grays have almost insectoid eyes, you know. These little guys had nice eyes. They were kind eyes. The 5 occupants, one of them was just under 4 feet, and he obviously was a commander because he had epaulets on his uniform. And one of the smaller ones, the 3.5 feet, also had epaulets, so he was obviously the assistant commander. The rest of them were dressed in very tight-fitting silver uniforms. And so now, characteristically, in other words, the physiognomy, they had no hair anywhere on the body. Huge eyes, an outsized head with the body. No ears, because the ears had atrophied. The nose had atrophied. The mouth was immobile. And so it wasn't like our mobile mouth, you know. So obviously they communicated with telepathy. And so the bodies were taken off of the craft, and they were flown back to Wright-Patterson for examination. And
Wright-Patterson Air Force Base.
Yeah,
That's
right, in Ohio. And of course, they had very great difficulty getting the uniforms off of them. They couldn't cut it. They tried scissors.
Not like
it was a material that we didn't know. Nothing like here on the globe, I should say. But they couldn't cut it with scissors, and yet it was thinner than a newspaper page.
Amazing.
And, it is. So finally they had to resort to metal shears to cut it, and they finally got the uniforms off of them, and then of course they examined the bodies. They were all male. They had male organs, genitals and what have you, but again, like the ears and the nose, it had atrophied due to non-use, you know. They were no longer sexual and didn't need the ears to hear and all that, so they were different from us, but they were nice little guys, really.
I didn't believe in the existence of a super advanced civilization until I saw this, said one of the scientists who examined the archaeologist's findings. What was it that so struck the seasoned researcher? Are we really on the verge of a discovery that could overturn our entire understanding of the past? One of the most mysterious artifacts was found in a mine near Rostov in Russia, where the age of rocks at a depth of about 500 feet reaches about 250 million years. At first, the miner did not pay much attention to the strange stone, but when he showed the find to his colleagues, it caused them real bewilderment. When this artifact was handed over to scientists, they were amazed not only by its age, but also by the way this fossilized mechanism reacted to ultraviolet light. What kind of ancient technology is this? Who lived on our planet millions of years ago?
In a quiet desert, people were shocked to see a strange, white, feathery creature. It was huge, unlike any animal ever known, and it seemed to glide quickly across the sand. Its unusual appearance made some think it could be from another world. Maybe even an alien. The creature's silent movements and strange look gave the scene an eerie feeling. Personally, I think it could have been a rare bird or an undiscovered species, but who knows? What do you think it was?
Or it could be AI. If you made it this far, the code word is Showtime. Drop Showtime in the comments below so I know you're a real one and you made it this far. I appreciate your support. And I'm back to posting every single day. This was the most disturbing videos on the internet today. See you tomorrow.